What's up, everyone? Happy Saturday, and welcome to episode 178 of the Open Marks Podcast.
I'm Jay.
And I am the brainless one.
A lot of crazy stuff has gone on in wrestling in the past week and in the world in the past week. And literally, like, one of the things that happened, like, right as we were finishing last week is it was announced that the Buckle Bomb was banned from WWE.
Now, a lot of people might not know, the Buckle Bomb was the move that Seth Rollins was the most notable person that was using the move, and it was the move that injured and basically ended the in-ring career of Sting. It also injured Finn Balor, obviously not being into the buckle itself, but going into like the barricade and everything. And it just seems that Nia Jax was the one most recently that was using the Buckle Bomb and had injured Kairi Sane. And so they decided that the Buckle Bomb is now officially a retired move from WWE. Thoughts?
My initial thought is, I understand, hey, you want to keep the talent safe. That's why they banned the pile driver. Too many people, I guess, over the years have gotten hurt from the pile driver. With that being said, if they're looking to ban a move because it's unsafe, perhaps they should ban Nia Jax. She has injured more people than the Buckle Bomb has.
I think we could go a little bit more detail on that later on in the podcast.
That's my base thought on it. So
I don't even know what to say. Honestly, I didn't even know that the pile driver was actually a banned move from WWE.
The only people that can use the pile driver right now
are the Undertaker
and Kane.
Okay.
Because that's part of their characters, part of their moveset, and they've been around forever.
Yeah. And who's going to tell the Undertaker not to do a tombstone pile driver? I dare somebody to tell the Undertaker not to use a tombstone pile driver. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
I know that most notable of all the people who have been injured by the pile driver was Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was on the receiving end of a pile driver from Owen Hart. Now, I know that I come out here each and every week, and I've maybe not each and every week, but there's been plenty of episodes of this podcast where I speak very glowingly of Owen Hart, of what he was as an in-ring performer, and what he is, and like what kind of an impact he has had on my life especially over the last 21 years. But Steve Austin has come out and said that he never forgave Owen Hart for injuring him kind of recklessly in the pile driver. And it's not because of the fact that he injured him in the pile driver. It's because Owen Hart never apologized to him for injuring him with the pile driver. So I can understand where Steve Austin's coming from.
And I don't know if he softened over the years or if it was just because Brett was in his presence. But when they did the Broken Skull sessions where it was Brett and Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know that Stone Cold knows that Owen Hart did not mean to injure him.
Right.
He knows that. But it's like, he didn't apologize. And I remember Stone Cold in some interview saying, like, he was the type of dude that loved to rib people. But, like, his jokes weren't so funny to me anymore.
Yeah.
It shortened his career and changed things in a gigantic way. So, it's a wonder it wasn't banned earlier. I remember going to Slammiversary. I forgot what year it was, but Bully Ray went against Sting in the main event. And like Bully Ray said, like, I'm going to do a move that the boys don't do to each other because we try to keep each other safe. He's like, but I'm going to give you a pile driver in the middle of the ring. And like, when you're using moves that other companies have outlawed, it's like, but and Bully Ray, true to his word, did pile drive Sting, and it actually, I think if I'm remembering right, they tore up the mat and exposed all the boards underneath, and he pile drived him on that. It was a heck of a match. I enjoyed that. I saw it live up at the Songus Arena in Boston. What's up, Eric?
Gags the Clown, ladies and gentlemen, has joined us on the podcast.
Yeah.
Somebody on the Twitter did say that he has heard a rumor that Sting is heading to AEW.
Hey, I would not mind seeing that. AEW announcing this week that Fyter Fest is going to be over 2 weeks. It's not going to be like a pay-per-view style. It's going to be basically AEW Dynamite with an extended episode kind of so to speak, that they're going to allow the matches to go longer and probably be more about matches than about skits or things along or cutting promos. So if we get, longer matches, I'm always for that. So anyway.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I enjoy getting watching the Fyter Fest as a show on its own on a Saturday and everything, I think this is good. Yeah, that's all I really got on it. It kind of threw me for a loop that they were actually going to do Fyter Fest over a 2-episode span.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know. Like, first of all, it was like interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. And then after I let it kind of sink in a little bit,
WrestleMania was 2 days. I mean, I know that this isn't Double or Nothing, but hey.
Oh God, if they did WrestleMania over a 2-day span in the weekend, I would be 100% on board on that.
Because then WWE could then claim they sold out whatever stadium twice.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's just it was kind of a breath of fresh air having WrestleMania over the 2 days, because it's not 87 hours of WrestleMania jammed into one day, and it's like, do I really need to see a 5th women's match on the card? I mean, is it really necessary?
Well, honestly, and we've spoken of this before, when it comes to WrestleMania, now that they're utilizing the 3 brands, they could have the 3 brands as part of WrestleMania, and I don't know if you would completely dissolve TakeOver, but maybe you could. TakeOver dissolves into WrestleMania. And I'm sure the NXT roster would be fine with that.
Yeah.
But Fyter Fest over 2 weeks, and it's going to be in place of AEW Dynamite July 1st and July 8th. And the main event for that is already set. It's Brian Cage going against Jon Moxley, and they did set that up on Dynamite this week a little bit more, and we'll keep on seeing that as it develops. So, all right, one of the rumors for the next year is NXT TakeOver on Friday and Mania on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what that means for Hall of Fame.
Who gives a shit about the Hall of Fame?
I mean, I know I don't, but I'm just saying, in general, WWE usually did Hall of Fame one night, TakeOver another night, and then unless they're planning to do maybe, well, I wouldn't say do it in place of the Monday after Mania Raw, but maybe the middle of the week instead. I don't know.
They could have it Friday in the afternoon before the NXT TakeOver.
That way you have 20 hours of wrestling on Friday.
Or they could do the Hall of Fame on Thursday and just show it on the freaking network on Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Maybe so.
But I mean,
or maybe they permanently put the Hall of Fame at SummerSlam.
Could do that.
So.
But speaking of shows that are going to be happening, NXT is going to have In Your House tomorrow night.
Our friend El Jefe is not happy about that.
Bring that up too. I'm personally on board with him on that. I really am not a fan of NXT TakeOver taking place on Sunday nights. I actually enjoyed the fact that NXT TakeOver was on Saturday nights, because it gave me something to watch on Saturday, and I didn't have to worry about what time I had to wake up to go to work the next day.
That's what AEW did when they did Double or Nothing. Do it on Saturday night. That was the old school way of doing it. You do it on Saturday night, so you don't have to worry about it. I understand, maybe you do WrestleMania on Sunday, just like NFL does Super Bowl Sunday. A lot of big events will happen on a Sunday, but it's not every month.
Yeah.
And not, sometimes twice a month. I mean, this month we're getting the triple whammy where, thankfully it was on Saturday with Double or Nothing. Mm-hmm. We had Backlash coming up and TakeOver. It's not quite like it was when Brand Split first happened, and every other week there was a pay-per-view.
I love the fact that we were talking about that. How it used to be 1 week we would do predictions, and the following week we'd do a follow-up show, and then the week after that we're doing predictions again, and it's and it just didn't give us anything other than just okay, we're just going to talk about fucking pay-per-views forever.
All right, so they did get Todd Pettengill to do a little bit.
So I did like that. I was actually a fan of that.
Eric chiming in, Saturday night's main event ruled. Yes, it did. It was one of the few things I would beg my parents. I'm like, can I take a nap and watch this? Because, it was on at 11:30. at night, and it went until 1 in the morning or 1:30 in the morning. Oh, those were so good, so good. But basically with the advent of pay-per-view, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, it's just rendered that as kind of useless.
And I'll tell you one thing is that, like with UFC, because UFC does have a pay-per-view tonight. Amanda Nunes is in the main event, and she's defending her championship. I think she's got 2 belts now. She's like the new
champ.
Yeah, she's the champ. She's Amanda 2 belts or whatever you want to call it. But she's actually going to be main eventing, and I like the fact that UFC does do theirs on Saturdays, which is it's actually pretty smart to do stuff like that. Especially since like a lot of times with UFC shows, they can go to like fucking 2 o'clock in the goddamn morning, which is the reason why I don't typically watch a lot of UFC shows. And I mean, not to sound like, like a boring, pathetic dude, like, oh my God, you can't stay up till 2 o'clock on a Saturday. Well, when the show starts at 8 o'clock, it just blows my mind. Like, the show will start at 8 o'clock and you have all these preliminary things. I think if they just kind of like made them faster.
Well, the thing that makes it difficult for it is you don't know how long the matches are going to go, so they overstuff the card in case, one of the matches lasts 20 seconds, because they can.
And the sad part is I'm at the point where it's like I don't want to stay up, because a lot of times I'll be at friends' houses or we'll be at freaking Buffalo Wild Wings, wherever the hell we are, watching the UFC show, and the thing goes till like 2 o'clock. I won't get home till like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and it's like, I'm like, my body's already adjusted to waking up at 6:30 in the morning. I can't function on fucking 3 hours of sleep, on a good day. And it's sad because I actually am rooting for fucking knockouts in like 2 of the 3 matches on the fucking main card for UFC. But I think for wrestling, especially because they do start at 7 o'clock, and like they did with freaking Money in the Bank, where they started at 7 and it was over at like 9:20.
So they could get the Undertaker, the Last Ride, started.
Which will be returning next week. And by the way, those are fucking awesome. I love those.
I think they've been getting better as they've gone on, and I understand that the Undertaker's drive, that he wants to have that one more good match, and he talked about how the match with Cena a couple of years ago, he's like, if they would have allowed us to have 45 minutes and it would have gone, he was like, I was in great shape, and like if the match would have been what we could have made it, I would have been happy.
Yeah.
But with all the stuff that's happened since then, he is certainly very unhappy with like some of the performances. Like his performances lately have been very uneven. I mean, I've been saying it for a while. Please, Undertaker, retire. I understand you get to call your shot when you're done, but man, I don't like seeing you look old and broken down.
You know what, Jay? How about you go and tell him to retire?
I will. He'll punch me for my insult, and
but better yet, I might actually do it just because who wouldn't want to take a punch in the tombstone from the Undertaker?
Right.
I would.
Yeah.
But by the way, Chris Brown just brought up the old school. Remember the old school steel cages?
Oh, I love the blue
ones, and it was like the squares. And oh my God, that was the greatest steel cage ever.
So like, they had those cages because back then, obviously, they had the larger athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
like the King Kong Bundys,
Hogan, like anybody you could think of, they had the larger people. So if you were going to try to get them to climb over the cage, it would have been very difficult with the regular chain link fence that they like use predominantly now. But the thing is, also with that, apparently, that if they took a bump on that blue steel cage, it sucked immensely, like far worse than it does against a regular cage. So, yeah.
Bang his hot wife before he can't anymore. That's beautiful, Eric. That is just absolutely beautiful. The Undertaker should retire and just have sex with Michelle McCool.
Hey, you know what? He came out during the last ride and he said, "She's my soulmate." Good for him, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean, considering the pain he had to go through to get Sarah removed from his neck.
The fact that he got Sarah tattooed on his neck is still fucking stupid. But
we all make mistakes. So
yeah.
But
what else do you want to touch base on before we start getting into like all the recaps of everything?
Poor Jinder Mahal. poor Jinder Mahal literally just gets back from injury like about a month ago, and he's on the shelf again. I don't know if it's the same knee, but he had knee surgery again, although nothing's been reported, but the tone he took, it sounded like it's not a big knee surgery. It sounded more like
it's just a cleanup.
Yeah. So hopefully, he's not out too long from this, because he got himself back in incredible shape, ready to go for this run, and it's like start and then stop. Poor dude.
I think that, and there was a lot of rumors going around that Jinder Mahal was going to be up in line to get what championship? The WWE championship shot against Drew McIntyre, just because the two of them have a lot of history together, and I think it would really be a solid freaking matchup and great storytelling, and it's a shame that we're not going to get it. But I really am looking forward to Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. I think is it next week?
I believe you are correct.
Next week for Backlash.
All right, so and Erica always loves chiming in, and don't forget that Mikey Whipwreck is the GOAT.
I don't need to. First of all, I will never forget that Mikey Whipwreck is the GOAT.
Just like we won't forget
that Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble, just like a lot of other stuff and stuff.
Yeah, and Elias also injured. I guess it clears up a little bit about the storyline on SmackDown, like Elias getting injured and what have you. I still don't like the whole start to that storyline, but yeah, at least on television they're saying that Elias has cracked ribs and what the heck was the other thing? Go to my notes. Torn pec and broken ribs. Ooh. Torn pec would be no fun. That's what happened to Triple H at that.
Yes, it is.
The match with the Brothers of Destruction. So, anyway, what are you doing?
I'm trying to find something that I wanted to bring up, and I just remembered I forgot about it now. So I want to see.
Eric's disappointed that you have water. Yeah, Eric, the brainless one has somewhere to go right after the podcast, and I was so busy the last couple of days I did not get a 40. I'm a little disappointed in myself. Maybe I should get some Blackberry brandy. I don't know. All right, beyond that, Arn Anderson has signed a multi-year extension with AEW. They brought in Double A after he was let go from WWE, and he's, I think they call him a consultant backstage, but also as an on-air character and they don't say manager, but
and the GOAT of spine busters, by the way.
So good for him with continuing his career and not being under the thumb of WWE. Yeah.
Very good. I was always an Arn Anderson, one of the most underrated stars of professional wrestling. Another wrestler who actually had his career cut short because of injuries. It was the neck injury, was it not?
Yeah, I think if the injury would have happened about 10 years later, he might have been able to extend it a little bit, because I think what happened with him was similar to what happened with Edge, what happened with Stone Cold, what happened with Paige. So I think Arn would have been able to continue his career, but, you'll still see him get physical, but you never see him take a bump.
Yeah, he just delivers the spine buster like the GOAT that he is, and still delivers, to this day, delivers the greatest spine buster in wrestling history.
So, all right. Eric, we would love to see that happen. Can we just bury Nia Jax quick? The brainless one did post that on the Facebook page. So, yes, that's something that we do have on our list here. So AEW has banned both Hulk and Linda Hogan from showing up at their events or even being part of their company.
Hulk Hogan is banned from AEW because of a few years ago where he came out on, I think it was the Bubba the Love Sponge show.
The sex tape. No, on
was
the
it
sex tape.
Was it the sex tape?
It was the sex tape where he said the N-word several times. And the tape was old, but even so, it's like the dude said it.
Yeah.
And, Tony Khan kind of came out and said, I'm not going to deal with this in my organization.
And then Linda earlier this week was talking about what is going on with the world with all the rioting and stuff like that. And she had made some not so really good comments about what is going on. And Tony Khan said, you know what, Linda, just like your ex-husband, you were also banned from all of our AEW shows, which is how we found out that Hulk Hogan was banned, is because Linda got banned after Hogan. And then Tony Khan went out and said that both of them were banned.
Now, I have one minor thing I'm going to bring up, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but Brian Cage has said some stuff that's pretty crappy. And he is a contracted performer for AEW, so, I think it'd be better if they were fair and equitable here with their with their judgment on people. I understand that Hogan's a bigger name in the industry, and like, all right, well, we're putting him on the permanently banned list, where like Brian Cage, like, we know him, but the general media out there has no idea who he is. So
yeah, really the hardcore, in-depth wrestling marks are the ones who are going to know who Brian Cage is. The casual wrestling fan is not going to know who the hell Brian Cage is or what he has done. So that's the reason why. But I mean, here's the thing, people in glass houses shouldn't throw rocks. And if it's not okay for one person to be a part of your company, but it's okay for another person, just makes you look like an idiot. And what's up, Jessica? I don't agree with what I agree with what Tony Khan did with Hogan and Linda, but you should definitely do something with Brian Cage as well. And on a separate note, but from WWE's side of things, because of everything that is going on, Jaxson Ryker came out this week and he posted something in support of Donald Trump and basically saying like all blue lives matter and everything, and has really been against. I don't even know.
So I have the exact quote here, so I just want to read it so we're 100% clear. He said, "Pretty touchy subject, but all this Black Lives Matter garbage baffles me. I challenge anyone of any color or race to watch 12 Years a Slave, the movie, and realize how good you actually have it. Learn heritage. Christ, Gandhi, Buddha, they all taught love and caring for others. This is getting out of hand. I pray for this nation daily." Now, like reading what he put here, my main problem with this is he left out a couple of things. If he didn't want to get himself in trouble, what he needed to add, I understand things are still not, it's still not a completely level playing field here.
Yeah, I agree.
Everything else outside of that, like, I wouldn't say the Black Lives Matter thing is garbage. It's just, he's probably just like, hey, every life matters, but, Black Lives Matter does not say that other people's lives don't matter. It's just that, to a lot of African Americans and other folks out there, they kind of think like, well, it just seems that Caucasian folks' lives matter just a little bit more. But, these are the times we live in. I think if Ryker would have added the statement of like, hey, I know things aren't they don't feel equal right now. And then put the line about like, but you've come so far.
Yeah.
Like the way he says, like, and realize how good you actually have it, almost seeming like you've made it to the finish line. You shouldn't complain anymore. It's like, no, people still have the right to complain about things that are inherently wrong. I mean, what happened to Mr. Floyd there, like, I don't care if the dude's a career criminal. He didn't deserve to die by a dude sitting on his neck for 8 minutes. So
I agree. And I do agree with what they are trying to accomplish with all of this is that, because a lot of people are saying that Black Lives Matter, or all lives matter. All lives matter will not matter until Black Lives Matter. That's just what I'm going to say about this. And I fully support what everybody is doing out there.
Don't support the looters.
Not
support
the looters.
The protesters.
The protesters, I 100%. The looters, no. Don't no.
Just so we're crystal clear, we don't support looting in any way. I mean, there have been plenty of businesses ruined. There have been a lot of lives lost because of it.
There was a 38-year veteran who had just recently retired from, I believe it was Kentucky, who was actually responding to a breaking and entering at a pawn shop and lost his life over it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. If you guys want to protest, it's a thing called freedom of speech. It's in our Constitution. You are absolutely 100% allowed to, express your opinions on everything. That's what our forefathers have given to us.
Yeah.
And if you need to get your voice, to have your voice be heard, then I fully 100% support what you all are doing, unless it's the looting. The looting is the one thing I do not support at all.
Yeah. So that's that. Another thing that happened this week, and we'll get more in depth with this later. But one thing we alluded to last week, which we thought was happening, did officially happen this week. Drake Maverick, I am so happy for this dude, received a new WWE contract.
I almost cried.
There are a lot of skits that they do out there, are a lot of storylines they do in professional wrestling that make you embarrassed to be a pro wrestling fan.
Yep.
This was the exact opposite. Yep. This was like one of those storylines that you're sitting there and like you get all glassy eyed and be like, look at that, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
It's funny because a lot of people were wondering what was happening, because why would Drake Maverick want to continue doing this whole cruiserweight tournament, kind of Class A, Class B thing to determine the interim cruiserweight champion if he wasn't really under contract? I mean, they could have easily just had him get taken out of it and replaced by somebody else, or he could have just basically told them to basically go fuck themselves, and then just called it a day, and then went and signed with some other company. And I think once he started winning matches and started being a legitimate threat in the group that he was a part of, people are like, "Oh, wait a minute!" I'm like, maybe this is the underdog story that people were hoping for." And when he got released with everybody else back in, I believe it was April, and he posted the video, and a lot of people came out to his, and supported him. A lot of people in the locker room came out and supported him, which was just.
I'm sure incredible. All of these things combined with the social media post that he made going viral. I mean, and the dude has like a young family. Mm-hmm. It's like
just recently got married.
Yeah.
And him and R-Truth basically carried the 24/7 title since its inauguration. And he made it to the finals, and a lot of people thought he was going to win. And unfortunately, he didn't win, and he was really, disheveled and everything, walking back to the locker room. And Triple H came out, handed him the contract, and he signed it, and they embraced, and Drake Maverick freaking started crying afterwards. And it's like, those are the moments that really overshadow all of the terrible things that happens in professional wrestling, whether it's somebody does something stupid, whether it's like a DUI or something like that, or if it's just stupid WWE booking, because I've never said that before. And right. I loved it. I guess my only gripe that I've had with the whole situation is that Lio Rush came out this week and said that he hated the storyline. It's like, why did they have to do this? And he feels like they only released Drake Maverick as a storyline. And it's like, dude.
I don't think that's what happened at all. I think they legit released him. I think it was the groundswell of support.
Yeah.
That they're like, all right, well, we're releasing him. All right, we're going to have him come back for these couple of dates for the cruiserweight, cruiserweight title tournament. So, it's definitely Leo Rush coming out and saying like a storyline. It was not a storyline the whole time. So.
The thing, actually, Chris Brown, it's actually interesting you brought up Daniel Bryan because it did remind me of something that happened with Daniel Bryan, but not like the whole WrestleMania 30 storyline. I think of more of like 10 years ago when when NXT Season 1 happened and they were basically just evolving the Nexus into the faction that they turned it into. And after their first night together, when
they attacked and they ravaged the ring, and you had poor Justin Roberts
getting choked by his tie by Daniel Bryan, and they fired him for
even though they were literally told to trash the ring and make this thing absolute chaos. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and he got fired.
And Justin Roberts even signed off on Daniel Bryan doing that to him, and they fired Daniel Bryan for it. And it was because of the fans' outcry that got Daniel Bryan his job back, because it was unjustified in firing him. It was stupid. And, I mean, look at what he's done over the last 10 years. Has there been a bigger star in WWE over the last 10 years than Daniel Bryan? Has there been a louder pop in WWE?
I would say pop. I would say bigger star. You might be able to say Roman Reigns, just based off of how many WrestleManias he's main evented. Not saying fan reaction. Fan reaction wise, I mean, nothing could compare with the reaction he got in Seattle when he announced his retirement, and then when he announced his comeback, I think in Seattle like 3 years later. My God.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said that you were at the the Monday Night Raw, and he
the
turned
cage match
on the Wyatt family. And you said the arena was shaking.
It was shaking, and that storyline was supposed to go on longer, but they knew what they had. But that similar to, and that was the thing that started us going towards WrestleMania and Daniel Bryan being in the title match and winning it. But similar to that, I would say to the WrestleMania 30 version of the storyline, that this was not something that WWE was expecting. WWE was not expecting the outpouring of support for Daniel Bryan. It took CM Punk leaving and like I think injuries for Daniel Bryan and the crowd for Daniel Bryan to get into that spot. Drake Maverick was going to be continued to be a released performer and not have a job and have to figure out how to support his family while there was no jobs to be had out there, or at least very little for professional wrestlers. And the groundswell of support because of that guy's passion for the business, I don't know how else to describe it. You can tell he loves this business. He gives his all for this business, despite the fact that he's like smaller than Marco Stunt. I love Drake Maverick.
I'm a huge fan of Drake Maverick, and it's funny too because I went on the website and I was actually seeing like the WWE shop, and I was looking for like what they have for like memorabilia for him for merchandise, and all he has is the Drake. It just says Maverick 24/7. That's the only shirt he has. Mm-hmm. Watch this guy blow up now. Watch this guy have the merchandise. He's going to win the Cruiserweight Championship. I'm telling you right now, he is a much bigger star than what they thought he was when they first released him. And on the note of all the people who got released back in April, there has been word that WWE has been extending offers to a bunch of the wrestlers that they released at that time, but for fractions of what they were making before. Obviously, in a situation like this, it was a cost-cutting move, and I guess they're offering them contracts that are paying them less than what they were making.
We saw Drew Gulak back this week on TV.
I just think that was just like
I think his contract ran out, and they ran out of negotiating time.
Yeah, and eventually he was just released for like not even a week, and then he was back, and he scored a victory over AJ Styles last night, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you get a victory over AJ Styles, and that's a pretty big feather in your cap. But I know that a lot of people were talking about there's a Victory Road. Is that the big show? Bound for Glory.
Bound for Glory.
Bound for Glory is the big show that is for Impact. And hey, for Impact Wrestling, the fact that I knew 2 pay-per-views for Impact, I should.
Well, there's also Slammiversary. Slammiversary is the one coming up. Bound for Glory happens in October.
What's the one that happens in
Slammiversary.
So it's Slammiversary. Slammiversary 2020 is happening, and they actually did a video package, which I thought was funny, that they had a dude in a hoodie kind of just like looking at the TV screen, and all it was like clips of all the former wrestlers who were released, who once upon a time worked in Impact, and
What,
but
the
also
WWE?
who were released by WWE in April, but who haven't re-signed, but have ties to Impact Wrestling from the past, whether it be Eric Young or Mike or Maria Kanellis. But the most interesting part about that was the fact that they had the Bulgarian flag and like a glass of scotch, which is people are thinking has to do with obviously with the Bulgarian flag. I mean, it's
Rusev.
It's Rusev, but the glass is Aiden English.
Hey.
And I'm curious to see who's going to get signed.
EC3 teased that it's going to be him. Hey. You know, he was a big deal for a couple years in Impact. They brought him to NXT. He was on his way to be a big deal, and then they called him up, I would say prematurely.
Yeah.
And then Vince McMahon, as you've said many times, probably figured out, oh, I remember this guy, Derek Bateman. I hated him.
Vince McMahon needs to get coronavirus and succumb to it. Him and Nia Jax both. There, I said it.
Yeah.
I said it. I meant it. I'd say it again.
That's pretty dark.
Well, what do you want from me? I'm brainless.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see who comes out and actually is part of Slammiversary in July when they have the show. I can almost guarantee that. I'm guessing that EC3 is definitely going to be one of them. Anderson and Gallows, that'd be interesting. I think they would be better suited to go back to Japan.
And that's what Chris is saying in his comment there. He thinks they'd be better off, or he heard that they're going back to New Japan.
Yeah, once the travel bans get lifted, that's when they'll probably end up back in New Japan because they're bigger stars over there anyway.
Sure. All right. So Jessica is saying, hope I'm not getting off subject, but since Bayley and Banks won the tag team titles, do you see Banks and Bayley having a feud we've all been waiting for?
Well, I know that the plan was that they were going to turn on each other, like leading up into SummerSlam, because SummerSlam was going to be in Boston, and they kind of wanted to have the Bayley versus Sasha title match at SummerSlam because Sasha is from Boston.
Get her to get the face pop.
Yeah, to get the crowd reaction like that. Now that it's looking more and more likely that SummerSlam will be taking place from the Performance Center instead of in Boston, they've kind of shelved that storyline until they get the live crowds back. So I think that's the reason why they put the titles on them. Please don't get me started on that. That's all I really want to talk about.
One thing I'll say about that and them getting the titles, obviously the end game for this is them breaking up. The fact that, Bayley was trying to steal the thunder and try to get the pin, the chinks in the armor are there. A couple years ago, this should have been a WrestleMania match, but they held it off for whatever reason, and then the storyline became overcooked. Then Sasha had a hissy fit and went home for a while, and now they're back, and the storyline is no longer overcooked. It's like they took it out of the oven and decided to make a new batch. So this is the new batch of cookies that we're going to get, and I'm sure they're going to have a great match.
I'm so sick of fucking Bayley now. I really am.
Hey, you know what? Good.
Bayley's starting to creep towards that class with Nia Jax and Eva Marie.
Come on,
Charlotte.
she's a good performer.
And Charlotte. All right,
you can say oversaturated, overexposed, but
her reaction after they won the titles, like she's acting like the two titles are too fucking heavy. Fuck you, bitch. God, I fucking hate Bayley. She's got the dirt face. How is it that Christian? How is it that Christian can have a fucking dirt face and not get pushed because he has a dirt face, but Bayley has an even worse dirt face, and now they're like, oh look, Bayley's gonna have all the fucking belts. When's she gonna win the NXT title from Charlotte? When's she gonna win the fucking Raw title from Asuka? When is she gonna have like the fucking? Is there any other NXT UK title? Yeah, have her fucking take that from Kaylee Ray.
Yeah.
Fuck Bayley.
Jessica is with you. She can't stand Bayley.
Thank you.
All right, Chris is not in favor of the hot potatoing of the women's tag titles, nor am I. My preference would be they actually would take the women's tag division seriously, but they don't take any of the tag divisions seriously. So I think our hopes in having a strong tag team division in general is just that. I don't know if we'll ever get it. I think we'll get some good matches, but we're not going to have some great storylines.
The only one that actually gets the tag team division right in all of WWE is NXT.
Yeah.
Do you even know who the NXT tag team champions are?
I do.
Do you all know who the NXT tag team champions are? I would send some kind of a prize out, but I really don't have it. I mean, you can have the rest of my water.
We did find out who the number one contenders are for those titles this week on NXT.
Oh my God, that was fucking horrible. This was actually one of the worst fucking weeks of wrestling just on television that I've seen in a very long time. It's typical for Raw to be a fucking shit bomb, and every once in a while SmackDown is a shit bomb, but NXT very rarely becomes a shit bomb unless you get a freaking segment where EC3 and the Velveteen Dream are at a freaking hotel, and it's like at the hotel pool, and it's like, why don't you have a seat? And then like 3 seconds later, how about you stand up? Come on. And and then now that AEW is a little bit more established, they're kind of starting to do some stupid shit, and I just think this was just an absolute fucking dumpster fire of wrestling this entire week, from Raw to NXT to fucking AEW Dynamite to freaking SmackDown last night. I just was not entertained at all this week. I just did not like wrestling at all this week. Period. I mean, there was highlights. Like the whole Drake Maverick thing was the best part about this entire week of wrestling.
Yeah.
Other than that, there was nothing else.
All right.
I mean, I liked Jungle Boy's performance at frickin' on Dynamite for the TNT Championship, but did Cody Rhodes really need to fucking bust himself open on that?
No. Unnecessary. You know when he should have busted himself open?
When he won the title against Lance Archer?
Yes.
No, I get it, and you want to make Jungle Boy look good because he's still a young talent that you can build towards for the future. Because the kid could be there for the next 20 years because he's that young, and he's really good for a kid his age. And you want him to still look strong in a losing effort. You didn't need to bust yourself open. I have a lot of bads and brainlesses that are up for freaking debate. More so a shit ton of bads, and like I got one brainless.
Yep.
Actually, I got two. I'm just kind of
you know what? Sometimes it's tough to.
My good was already established, cemented, and taken care of this week, and I've been bouncing around between like 9 or 12 different fucking bads and a couple of brainlesses.
All right. Before we get completely into going over the different shows, one of the folks out there, I think it might have been Eric, said he thought that Drake Maverick would make a great announcer. No doubt about it. I think right now though they're going to keep him wrestling because he's pretty hot right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree. He would be a great announcer. I think he'd be a great producer. Mm-hmm. He could be a great mouthpiece. I mean, when he was EC3's mouthpiece, it was fantastic. And then their ultimate breakup and the crazy match that they had where EC3 just absolutely annihilated him. It's what I would assume like a match with Brock Lesnar and the Singh brothers would be like, except for maybe like times 10. But Drake Maverick just kept coming. You want to talk about the ultimate underdog? He and like Rey Mysterio should become like a tag team and like win the tag team titles just to be the ultimate underdogs. Mm-hmm. But so yeah, I think he would make a great announcer, but not right now in my view. Not right now. So that's that.
Okay.
All right. So do we want to hit AEW before we do WWE, or do we want to do Raw, SmackDown, AEW?
Let's go to AEW. We'll do that first.
All right.
Just so we could just because we're basically going to lead to our predictions for
NXT
In Your House.
So
WrestleMania.
AEW, we started this week with your boy Kenny Omega and your boy Hangman Page going against Sabian and Jimmy Havoc.
First of all, Hangman Page is my boy. I fucking love Hangman Page.
So is Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega's a fucking piece of shit. That's what fucking Kenny Omega is.
He's your boy in the exact opposite way that Hangman Page is. So, but this was a tag team title match. They earned from winning a triple threat or a fatal 4-way the week before? I
triple threat.
I forget. So Paige and Omega ended up coming out on top, but FTR were watching on and kind of taking notes, and they ended up cutting a promo a little bit later on in the show where, I think Shivani was talking. Was it Shivani talking to them? Whoever was talking with them basically said, like, they called out the Young Bucks specifically, and they're like, we don't want to have a match of the year against the Young Bucks. We want to punch them in the face. I thought that was a great line. And they said that, but they also, by being in the audience during the tag team title match, that obviously is setting up for a possible feud for that down the line. And in the middle of their promo with Shivani, Butcher and Blade came out, and they are going to have their first official match as FTR for AEW next week. I was hoping to get a couple more initials in there, but I ran out. But I think this was a great way to bring FTR into the AEW audience's
realm,
home, and get to know what these characters are going to be like. Not a huge deviation for what they were as the Revival, but cool. I love them as the Revival. They had a ton of amazing matches, and I enjoyed their no-nonsense characters.
Agreed. I think it's going to be a good start, and the Butcher and the Blade are a good, startup tag team for them to kind of, make a name for themselves and kind of debut as a tag team against. And obviously, at some point, we're going to be getting the Revival and the Young Bucks at a match, because the Young Bucks claim that they are the best tag team in the world. And there's been a lot of different people in the wrestling industry, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, to name a couple, who have said in the past that the Revival are the best tag team in the world. So obviously, this is going to come to a
culmination
of them going against each other.
Yeah. All right. So there was that. Then we had Brian Cage going against Shawn Dean. Shawn Dean, I know you are a big fan of the squash match. AEW does a pretty good job when they bring in these monsters, feeding them people to destroy. And Brian Cage did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Brian Cage is incredible talent. I want to say I first saw him when he was in Lucha Underground, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he was in Lucha Underground. But I mean, he was just a polarizing figure when he was in TNA. I think he was the one that lost the title to Sami Callihan, who ended up losing it to Tessa Blanchard.
I believe you are correct.
And he's just really. And I was like, I remember first seeing Brian Cage, and I said, "Oh my God, he's Vince McMahon's wet dream."
Right.
He's a fucking meat shield, as El Jefe would say.
Right.
So, I mean, kudos to them for getting it right with the squash matches. Like you said, I'm a huge fan of the squash matches. Can't really put too much into what's going on with AEW, because I actually was watching NXT this week just because. I'm sorry, it was Drake Maverick.
Right.
It was, give me a good fucking story and I'll watch it. And I was like, I got to support Drake Maverick this week.
Yeah.
He is my age, by the way, Drake Maverick. I found out.
Okay.
But
then we had a match, first time ever. A couple of the performers that have been in the ring for quite a while. We had Chris the Goat Jericho going against Colt Cabana.
Wow.
First time ever.
Yeah.
And they had a pretty damn entertaining match. Colt Cabana, for most of his career, has been more of a comedy character, and but the dude can go in the ring.
Former NWA United States champion, by the way, Colt Cabana.
So it's cool to see him in the ring with Jericho after both of them have been wrestling as long as they have, and they had a fun, entertaining match, and then Jericho takes the mic at the end of the match and talks about being disrespected and how he deserves more respect than people have been giving him. And who came out?
Orange Cassidy, the GOAT himself.
Yeah. So
I can't wait for Cassidy and fucking Jericho.
So Cassidy ended up evading Jericho, and Jake Hager came out too, and the Best Friends came down and there was a bit of a stare down between the Inner Circle and Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. I think maybe we might see that at Fyter Fest, because I think the Mike Tyson thing will be saved for a bigger pay-per-view event down the line. I think they said All Out is in September. So I think Tyson would probably be in All Out as opposed to, getting a six-man tag match at Fyter Fest between these three, Cassidy and the Best Friends, and having whatever three from the Inner Circle.
My guess it'll probably be
Jericho, Hager, and probably Guevara, so Guevara could take the pinfall. Because that's what they seem to like to do, and it's bullshit. But
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I was actually going to say I wouldn't be surprised if they did Jericho versus Pride and Powerful.
They could.
Ortiz and Slamtana.
You never know. All right. Then we had Big Swole going against Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose, who just lost the title to Hikaru Shida. Rose came. Really competitive match, but Nyla Rose comes out on top. But the thing for me that it wasn't even this match, it was after the match. Dr. Britt Baker comes out and they showed a training video of her. So obviously her knee injury was like severe enough to have her not perform at Double or Nothing, but apparently not overly severe where like she can't do stuff. But they had a training video, and she was watching the match from her custom-made Rolls Royce. There's only one of them made. It was made for Dr. Britt Baker. But yeah, Big Swole ended up running her off because Big Swole felt disrespected by this whole thing. And it's like, all right, if her knee was so bad, she would not be able to skedaddle because Big Swole is in shape and can run people down. So,
by the way, that video montage of her training was fucking awesome. I saw that at least 12 times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to the extent of Braun Strowman and James Ellsworth.
Right.
But I mean, I've seen it 12 times this week since Wednesday. Is fucking nuts. And I was like, because I know that I was one of the people like, this is the dumbest thing they've ever done. I'm starting to come around on the whole Britt Baker fucking heel turn, and it's actually, she's become entertaining.
Well, she's gotten better at it. Yeah. The beginning when she was making fun of Tony Schiavone was just
and JR.
It was cringeworthy the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
4 weeks.
Agreed.
So, and we already brought this up a bit before, but Cody went against Jungle Boy for the TNT Dynamite title, and they put on a heck of a show for the wrestlers that were there and the viewing audience. They went about 20 minutes, but in the end, Cody Rhodes wins.
I forget who it was who came out. I want to say it was Meltzer, because it makes the most sense that it would be Meltzer that came out and said it it was really unnecessary for Cody Rhodes to bust himself open.
Jimmy Corderas.
Was it Jimmy Corderas? That's who it was. Jimmy Corderas, former WWF referee Jimmy Corderas, on his podcast this week came out and said that what Cody Rhodes did was kind of reckless. You want to make this kid look strong. You could do that without having to bust yourself open. The fact that you busted yourself open in a time where there's a pandemic going on and you don't know what's happening with this coronavirus, you're risking yourself like that. It is just reckless and stupid to bust yourself open. Obviously accidents happen, i.e. what happened on Monday that they kind of edited out. But to do it like actually busting yourself open was kind of stupid and reckless, and I 100% agree with that statement too. So, either way, Cody Rhodes went over because I don't think they're going to hot potato a title, but who the fuck knows? And but Jungle Boy did look good in a losing effort, and that was what they were trying to do.
One of my favorite parts of this match, and it was the part where Cody did get busted open, was MJF, who was part of the crowd, then started talking crap to Jungle Boy. So, kind of a little bit of continuing their feud. I don't think it'll be anything more than that, but it was just a fun little bit that they added to the match. And then at the end, they had the Rhodes family come out.
and Jurassic Express
to
check
help
out both
out
of them.
Cody, and help out
Jack Perry.
So, show of respect and hard fought victory for Cody. And Cody next week will be going against Mark Quinn for the TNT Dynamite title. So that was AEW Dynamite for this
Dynamite!
week. Yeah.
Now, before you even go into the Monday Night Raw recap, I'm just going to let you know I'm boycotting Monday Night Raw. I've been boycotting Monday Night Raw for a while, but now I have a legitimate reason to boycott it other than that Monday Night Raw has sucked. I am boycotting Monday Night Raw until they fire Nia Jax. So Monday Night Raw is going to be in your wheelhouse for the foreseeable future, sir.
All right, so Chris is saying he heard that the TNT title can be fought over by wrestlers other than ones just in AEW.
Yes, he did, because Cody Rhodes, somebody had asked Cody Rhodes if the TNT title was going to be strictly for wrestlers that are in AEW, and he said no. I would love nothing more. They would never do it because Vince McMahon would never, ever.
New Japan has been known to.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Ring of Honor did something like we could get like a Marty Scurll versus Cody Rhodes for the TNT title. Sign me up for that. Cody Rhodes versus Zack Sabre or Kota Ibushi. Absolutely sign me up for that. As long as it's not Kenta, because I'm sure he'll get hurt. He'll get hurt either during the match or on his way to the ring or cutting a promo or just getting out of bed.
Right.
Fucking doofus.
Right.
But yeah. So I am not going to be the Monday Night Raw correspondent because fuck Monday Night Raw. I will not support a company that still gives Nia Jax television time, and not only that, a shot at a championship that she does not deserve at all.
All right. So Jessica said she needs to get fired. She's not safe. That's part of Monday Night Raw. So before we get into Raw,
really quick, I was online and I saw that on change.org that they have a petition going on. So if you go on to change.org, and if you actually go onto our Facebook page at the F and Marks, that's facebook.com/the F and Marks. That's THE, letter F, the letter N, MARKS. And you go on there, you will actually see that I signed the petition to get Nia Jax fired. So I would really hope that the people who tune into this podcast will go on there and also sign the petition to get that fucking bitch fired because she is reckless, she is unsafe, and if they don't do something soon, something bad's going to happen to a point that I'm not just the only one that thinks this about Nia Jax. This is where I got the Brian Alvarez all mixed up. So a unnamed wrestler in WWE had actually texted Brian Alvarez, and the superstar reached out to him after the taping and said Jax needs to be fired. And I quote, 1,000% Nia's fault. She needs to be fucking fired. She is dangerous. Fire her before she cripples or kills somebody. I 100% agree with whatever that wrestler said. She is not. She's just. I wouldn't get in the ring with her. They couldn't pay me $1 bajillion to get in the fucking ring with Nia Jax.
And poor Asuka has to be in the ring with her next week.
After this woman has severely injured Kairi Sane, even though Kairi Sane came out and said that it wasn't Nia Jax's fault the last time. Look, what's the old saying? You can take a turd, you can cover it in sparkles, put a bow around it, and guess what? It's still a fucking turd. That is what it is with Nia Jax. She is reckless in the ring. She just does, she
hasn't gotten better.
She hasn't gotten better. And I always keep going back to like when they did the whole original brand split a few years ago.
What's up, Seth?
When they had, Braun Strowman and Nia Jax, and they had them both, when Braun Strowman and Nia Jax basically came up to, Nia Jax basically came up from NXT, and Braun Strowman came and separated himself from the Wyatt family. Now, you look at what Braun Strowman was. Braun Strowman was extremely raw when he basically broke from the Wyatt family almost 4 years ago and killed James Ellsworth. But the thing about Braun Strowman is he has gotten so much better in the ring. I actually enjoy Braun Strowman because they utilize him to his strengths. I don't feel like he is going to severely injure somebody unless they're in like an ambulance or a car or a truck or something, and he flips it over. But like when he's in the ring with people, it's actually shown in the last 4 years he has gotten 100 times better in the ring than what he was. Not to say that he was terrible in the ring, but he was just really raw and green. Whereas here is Nia Jax, who got called up. She was down at NXT, and she had more time to develop down there than when Braun Strowman got called up to the main roster and just be a part of the Wyatt family. And she's just sucks. She's fucking god-awful. She's terrible. She is reckless, and she's going to fucking kill somebody, and that is a huge lawsuit on Vince McMahon's plate. And the smart thing for him to do, which he won't do because it's a smart thing to do, would be just to fire her, like I've said for years and years and years on this podcast.
He could have used the coronavirus and letting go all those other wrestlers as a reasoning.
Yeah. But Vince is fucking retarded. That's why him and Nia both deserve to succumb to the coronavirus.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so proceed. Monday Night Raw.
Monday Night Raw started off, I thought it was pretty damn excellent segment. Seth Rollins cut a promo, a.k.a. had the Rey Mysterio retirement ceremony, and then says, I'm doing this retirement ceremony because Rey will be too proud to ever retire, so I'm going to do it for him, and this is for the greater good. I mean, it was such an asshole heel, like, arrogant, everything about it I thought was like pitch perfect. And then, like, later on, you end up freaking Facebook. Anyway, basically, you end up having Mysterio come on later on with Dominic, and Rey got so fired up that like Dominic ends up, or he left the scene, and then Dominic was like,
an eye for an eye.
Just like in the Bible, an eye for an eye.
If you want to, I can kind of carry on with that a little bit. I will say this. I will absolutely 100% say this about the storyline that they have going on with the Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. I think that the two of them are going to have one hell of a blood feud. It's going to be incredibly entertaining. It is going to be a absolute bloodbath, and if everything like what we're expecting is going to happen, that Dominic will be joining Seth Rollins and his faction. Oh, excuse me. I think this is the perfect way to do it. And a lot of people are kind of expecting Dominic to kind of turn on his father, and it's going to lead to him joining forces with the Monday Night Messiah. And we are back live on Facebook.
Hopefully it does. Hopefully it leads to that. Because I think that would be a better storyline. I think it'd be better to have Dominic, have his dad put him over. It was funny because I saw a thing out there where they're like, he could be a second generation star. It's like, no, a third generation star because Rey Mysterio Sr., which is actually Rey Mysterio's uncle, was a wrestler before.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm pretty sure that Rey's dad was a wrestler and all that stuff in Mexico. Because if you think about it, just like the Guerrero family. How many people in the Guerrero family were wrestlers? Eddie, Chavo Sr. I'm sorry, Chavo Classic.
Yes.
But especially for like the Mexican wrestlers and their heritage. Pentagon Jr., who now wrestles, his dad was Pentagon. La Parca's son actually wrestles for freaking Major League Wrestling, and so yeah, I'm curious to see how this all comes about.
All right, well, I thought it was a good start for it, but Aleister Black at one point during the original promo that Rollins was cutting just couldn't take it anymore, and went to the ring, and Playa, we had a match made where Aleister Black went against Seth Rollins. And with all that's been going on, it's like you don't want to see Aleister Black take losses, and he didn't. He ended up beating the Monday Night Messiah.
And after the match, Austin Theory and Buddy Murphy came out and attacked him and Humberto Carrillo, and beat the snot out of the two of them after the match. And
Carrillo used the chair to at least attempt to neutralize everything that was going on. Yeah. And then Rollins at one point after the beatdown at the end of the match says, "This is what you get for trying to be a hero," and then delivers a stomp to him. I thought that was a great punctuation for that. So, did you see SmackDown was tribal? SmackDown was tribal. Huh. All right, next on Monday Night Raw, we had the newly minted U.S. champion Apollo Crews going against Kevin Owens.
What's up, Tommy?
Apparently, the Facebook feed is just having all sorts of fun today.
Would I be able to get it fired up on my phone, even though I'm not a moderator?
You're an administrator, dude.
Am I?
You are.
On the Wrestling Marks page?
You are.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know about Wrestling Marks page, on our page. But anyway, whatever. But let's keep going.
No, I was going to say I could try to see if I can get fired up on my phone, but never. I'm sorry. Well, what's the next thing we're gonna?
Apollo Crews
and the United
Owens.
States Championship. They had a match and it ended up in a no contest because Angel Garza and Andrade got involved, and then Teddy Long, not really, but Teddy Long got involved and said, "You know what? Hold on, wait a second, player. We're going to have ourselves a tag team match." And we ended up getting Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews going up against Angel Garza and Andrade. And Apollo Crews and Kevin Owens went over and got the victory.
Yep.
So I really have nothing more to say because fuck Kevin Owens too. He can get future endeavored with fucking Nia Jax. I fucking hate that guy. God damn it.
Yeah,
I almost unblocked him just so I can fucking go after him again to see if he would block me on two different.
Of course he would. Of course he would block you.
Of course he would. I could just be like, "Good morning, Kevin Owens," and he would probably fucking block me. That fucking fat bitch, pussy, fucker.
You sound like you got Tourette's like that dude. And What About Bob?
The dude, and What About Bob?
Yeah, there's a part where he's like walking down the street where he's saying, "I feel good, I feel great, I feel wonderful," and the guy's like, "Fuck.
Oh yeah, you're right. There was that. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Had a completism.
I was thinking more of like what was it, Deuce Bigelow, where he was on the date with the chick who had the Tourette's, and he took her to a baseball game, and she was like, "You suck a fucking
Nice.
I just hate Kevin Owens.
I know.
Period. End of discussion. But yeah. So there was that. I'm sorry. The fact that I'm fucking boycotting Raw, I don't have it about Raw. I just don't. Fuck Raw. I'm going to continue this boycott until they fucking fire that freaking fat bitch Nia Jax.
What if she goes to SmackDown?
Then I'll start watching Raw and I will stop watching SmackDown.
All right.
They're gonna find a way. You know what? And then she'll end up in AEW. Then I'll stop watching AEW, or she'll end up back in NXT. I'll stop watching.
No,
NXT.
I don't think any AEW would even think of.
No, but there is one wrestling company who would be dumb enough to hire Nia Jax if she were to get fired from WWE. And not only that, she'd probably start off with a feud with Tessa Blanchard. I mean, that wrestling organization would be Impact.
Right.
So see if she can make an impact or not.
Oh, she'll make an impact, and she'll injure the whole women's division and men's division.
Poor Smiley Kylie if that happened.
Yeah, well. Anyway, I'm going to keep working and try to get this Facebook feed rolling again. So one thing that they have done, I think that has been at least a bit of fun that they've had during the coronavirus. We've had the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits and a bunch of non-wrestling stuff.
The bowling shit was fun.
I think in general, this has kind of been a fun little distraction. The only thing that I have some pause about with this is that I fear that the Viking Raiders may turn into the Ascension 2.0, where the Viking Raiders had a lot of hype coming in. They had a couple of runs with the tag titles, but nothing super serious and no, what I would say, great storylines. They only had storylines. So they haven't been really able to develop a hardcore following. They've had tons of great matches. They have a great entrance, but I just hope that this is adding a little bit of more depth to the character, and I hope that beyond just adding a little bit more depth, that this is just kind of a short-lived little fun bit. I mean, Kane was obviously able to get beyond, the Dr. Shelby stuff. I mean, that was fun, cool stuff that I really enjoyed, but Kane was also a bit more established. So hopefully this is not, something that's going to hinder the growth of the Viking Raiders any more or less than what the Viking experience was. So,
right. Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm trying. I'm seeing if there's any way I can do it here.
I don't think you can. Don't worry. It's about the. Anyway, so Viking Raiders. What are your thoughts on the Viking Raiders and Street Profits
I
here?
100% agree with what you said. I think it's a nice little change of pace of what we're used to with the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. At the fact that they're doing non-wrestling bits to get themselves and kind of just get themselves on TV and show people what they can actually do. And I think it was Angelo Dawkins came out and said that he loves doing all this stuff, and the Viking Raiders are actually in agreement with him and Montez Ford, and saying that this has actually been a lot more entertaining. And they said that you can see a side of both tag teams that you typically wouldn't see in this situation. I mean, come on, imagine going into a bowling alley and seeing guys like Ivar and fucking like
Eric and Ivar.
Ivar and whatever fucking the Viking Raiders are now called. Yeah. Eric, Ivar, whatever. Stupid that they changed their fucking names from Hanson and Rowe, but what do I know? I don't get paid like WWE.
I mean, some of the name changes over the years, I've finally kind of gotten into being like, okay, it's okay. Like, it just being Elias now, I'm fine with it being Elias.
I agree with that. It also worked for Rusev. I'm not really sold on the Murphy thing. He should still be Buddy Murphy. And, that's my gripe on the name changes. But it's neither here nor there. All
right, so hopefully the reboot of the phone will make this so it doesn't just shut off on us again.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so we had Billie Kay going against Nikki Cross here. It seemed like we were building towards a feud between Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss going against the Iconics. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore with what happened yesterday with the tag team titles, but hey. Billie Kay ends up going over in this match, and if we're really being hopeful here for a future of the women's tag division, maybe is this part of them being a little bit more serious about them? Probably not, but there's that sliver of hope. There's the sliver of hope I'm feeling, so.
You can feel that sliver of hope all you want, Jay. I'm just telling you, at the end of the day,
wishing one hand, crap in the other.
See which one fills up faster.
Yeah,
definitely not the women's division.
Unfortunately,
you definitely get the crap instead. But I really, that's why when they were talking about there was a tag team title match, I completely forgot that Bayley and Sasha were fighting for the tag team titles last night, and I really thought that they were going to have the Iconics get the title shot because they kind of. They've been kind of making the best of that.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So, with the way they booked it on Monday, what they did on yesterday did not make a ton of sense.
No.
But
hey, it's WWE booking. What did we expect was going to happen? Stupid shit. Like I said, this was by far one of the absolute worst weeks of televised wrestling for me, and I couldn't even tell you how long.
And this next thing I'm going to bring up, it's like both happy and sad. R-Truth is once again the 24/7 champion.
I fucking love it.
Which means, though, the Gronk is no longer the 24/7 champion. The Gronk apparently had it out in his contract that, you know, if he went back to play football, his contract would be voided.
Yeah.
So he did what he needed to. So anyway, those tuning in for the first time, if you've never tuned in before, make sure you like us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and
Periscope and Instagram.
And then, you know, make sure you, on the Wrestling Mark page, if you're watching us live for the first time and enjoying this, make sure you set up the notifications for whenever we go live, that you will be notified when we are live.
I don't remember sending the notifications, but I still get one. I must have done it.
Yeah, but
I'm probably drunk.
And if you're looking for us on all those social media platforms, we are at the FNMARKS, the FN Marks.
If you'd like, follow and subscribe to us and those out. Wow.
We will subscribe to you back, even if the brainless one can't get it out. That's what she said.
Thanks, honey. Yeah, wow.
So, anyway, so R-Truth winning 24/7 title. You know what? For the most part, I've enjoyed what they've done with the 24/7 title because of the coronavirus. It's made it so they can't have as much fun with it, and that's a crying shame. I know you got what you wanted to at WrestleMania. You got Gronk as the 24/7 champion, but here we are, and R-Truth, the GOAT of the 24/7 title.
We're not going to talk about the fact that how disappointed I am with Rob Gronkowski going back to the NFL to play for the Buccaneers, because he'd rather go 9-7 and maybe just make the wild card with the Bucs than it would for him to actually have a sustainable career in WWE. But from what I've heard, there's a lot of reports that have been coming out that he actually had some heat on him backstage, because the thing they wanted him to do, where he jumped off the balcony and onto all the wrestlers to win the championship, he was very hesitant to do, and it caused for them to have like a 2-hour delay in the recording of all that stuff, and everything just got pushed back because of Gronkowski. And they were saying that there was talks of him taking part in the Crown Jewel and in SummerSlam this year, and that was basically going to be, that was it for Gronkowski and everything. But now we're not going to get Gronk because he'd rather go freaking hold hands with Tom Brady and lose in Tampa Bay.
9-7 is not lose. Anyway,
fuck the Bucs.
Ishmael is saying Charlotte is overused. We completely agree. It's one of the things we've been talking about for the past several weeks. I mean, she's basically on Raw, on NXT, on SmackDown, and this week she's also going to be on TakeOver in your house. She probably does party favors and will show up to your front door if you ask her. She probably makes a wish for people from time to time.
I bet you we have an easier time getting Ric Flair to show up here, though. Woo! Yeah?
Exactly. So Charlotte Flair was on Monday Night Raw this week, and she defeated Asuka via countout, and the countout happened because Asuka got distracted by Nia Jax. Jax came out in Asuka's paint, and the Raw Women's Champion ends up losing to the NXT Women's Champion, again via countout, so it doesn't feel like it is bad as some of the other stuff that they've done, always making Charlotte feel like the greatest thing ever. They had a really good match going. It would have been, if they would have had a good ending, this could have been the match of the week. But the ending of the match was... So hopefully they'll get another chance to have a match and let them tear the house down. Hopefully with people there too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Monsef agreeing with you with the worst week of wrestling, and Ishmael agreeing with you. Fuck Brady. Okay.
I got the masses on my side, baby. Keep talking, baby. Woo!
I don't care who's on your side. Brady's the GOAT.
Brady can lick my left testicle.
I don't think he wants to.
No.
So we had Randy Orton cutting a promo this week and talking about, yeah, you know what? There has been times where I've only, gone at it like 50%. And despite the fact that I've only gone at it 50%, I still was the best wrestler in the company. And just making fun of Edge, he's like, yeah, you had to stretch and claw, and I don't even have to try. It's such a heel and dick move. It's
I
great.
fucking love Randy Orton, man. That's why I got the T-shirt.
Right.
Because I hear voices in my head, and they told me to buy the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That match, I'm telling you right now, them like a technical.
The greatest wrestling match ever is the way they're trying to.
I think that match is going to be spectacular next week. I might be in the minority where I said that I actually thoroughly enjoyed their match at WrestleMania. I would say it was a little long-winded, but nevertheless, I was entertained thoroughly.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying this feud. This is a feud that we have been waiting a long time for, and I'm glad we're finally getting it. I'm just glad that Edge is back, and any Edge is better than no Edge. Because I said, like, even when he first announced his retirement 9 years ago, I said, and for years I said, they never replaced Edge. You can always replace a John Cena. You can always replace a Hulk Hogan. You can always replace a Stone Cold or a Rock. The die-hard, over-the-top heel like Edge, where he was a really good, he worked well in the ring and he was good on the microphone. You don't get guys like that all the time, and they really had that void. And I think Seth Rollins has kind of like filled that void a little bit better than what I anticipated.
It wasn't helpful either that around the same time Undertaker stopped showing up on a routine basis too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But agree, Monsef, they do need fans to make these matches have a special feeling to them and make them great. We've gotten a lot of great matches when no fans have been there, but like it just takes it to the next level.
Agreed.
So, and then to finish off the night, we had Drew McIntyre going against MVP. McIntyre obviously goes over on MVP. The great thing about MVP's story is MVP was acting as a backstage producer, was furloughed, not let go by WWE. He was furloughed, but they're like going, well, he's still in the storyline. So they hired him strictly as a performer. Mm-hmm. And so he never...
That was a Paul Heyman decision, too. Paul Heyman wanted to put MVP with Bobby Lashley because, Bobby Lashley needs a mouthpiece. He's kind of like the Brock Lesnar. He's a Brock Lesnar type where Lesnar's his ass kicker, but needed somebody to do the talking for him. And Bobby Lashley did come out and said that him and Drew McIntyre are very similar, kind of, where they both kind of started and been in the business for a long time. And Bobby Lashley was there and never got the opportunity. He was never dubbed as, quote unquote, the chosen one. And my thing is that, yes, Bobby Lashley, you are a physical specimen. Yes, you are actually not terrible in the ring. You're actually above average in the ring, almost good. The fact is you can't fucking talk to save your life. You are not somebody who can do something like that. That's the reason why you had the scratch and claws, because nobody took you seriously when you opened your mouth. Am I wrong?
I would say you are mostly right there. Like the when he first came back to WWE, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but there were a lot of botched moves that he had when he first came back. But when I saw him in TNA, he did not have the same problem. So I think people were trying to purposely mess with him so he didn't look good. Because you see a guy like Lashley, if this guy looks good, you know whose spot he's going to take? He's taking yours.
Yep.
So I think people were purposely trying to cause chicanery during matches. And then, like there was a part where they started having him be the ass kicker, and he would cut short promos, and he did a good job at the short promos. Mm-hmm. And then he got injured and was out for
2 months.
Several months. And when he came back, they had him in the Lana storyline and all that sorts of jazz. Mm-hmm. But I am still holding out hope that we get to see Lashley versus Lesnar. even before Lashley even came back to WWE, I talked about wanting to see this as a match or an MMA fight.
Mhm.
And I'm still standing by. I would like to see them in something similar to the Lions Den thing. I don't think modern day WWE would allow that,
Mhm.
but I would love to see something like that happen. Hopefully this is part of that thing happening. But as Raw went off the air, Lashley did attack McIntyre, put on the full Nelson, but it's almost like they had to cut Raw quicker than they wanted to, because Lashley didn't have the full Nelson on that long before they just faded to black. So it didn't look like Lashley was beating the hell out of him and was super dominant.
Mhm.
He put on the full Nelson and the show was over. So,
Stupid WWE.
well, I mean, live TV is a tough thing, man. Live TV is super tough. So if things don't time out perfectly, you know what? Put that on Kevin Dunn.
I put everything on Kevin Dunn.
So, all right. So Chris Brown saying what scares him is he thinks that possibly Lashley beats McIntyre for the title at Backlash and then loses it to Lesnar at SummerSlam. I mean, it's possible that could be what's happening.
I have my tinfoil hat theory.
Would you like to divulge said tinfoil hat theory?
I think that because of what everything is going on right now, I could see WWE putting the title on Bobby Lashley and just ending the Drew McIntyre reign a little too soon, just to kind of like for them to quote unquote show their solidarity over what is going on. That's something that has crossed my mind. I'm not saying that Bobby Lashley doesn't deserve the title, but I think that you need to put the title on Drew for a little bit longer than a couple of months. That's all. Because then Lesnar has the title that he took from Kofi Kingston in a bullshit squash match in October. He took the title from him, and then WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre wins the title, and then you have Lashley take the title from him 2 months later, and then 2 months later you have Lashley drop the title to fucking Lesnar. I mean, come on, you got to build some kind of freaking stability with the championship.
Well, all the stuff you're talking about right now is fantasy.
Is this real life though, or is it just fantasy?
We don't know yet.
Caught in a landslide,
Right?
Escape from reality.
But basically, it's possible they could put the title on Lashley, and because there's no fans right now, you don't really know full tilt what the reaction is to Drew McIntyre being the champion. You could tell maybe through how many people are watching segments with Drew McIntyre or how many people are buying his merchandise. But, having those live shows where, if you go to see a rock concert and the band performs, songs from their new album, and you're like, you know what, I kind of dug that. What do you do after? You sit there and you go to the stand and you buy the new album.
Yep. Or you download it off iTunes when you get home.
Or check it out on Spotify.
Yeah.
But with wrestling not being in a live atmosphere where people could then, like, immediately after a match, plop down their money and get the T-shirt, do they just go home or I watched the show? I don't see the merchandise in front of me.
Basically, all you need would be the only way you can gauge how he is as champion is if you go through social media, especially because, like with Twitter and Facebook, a lot of people are going to go out there and put their 2 cents in about what is going on with wrestling.
But Vince McMahon specifically thinks that you're over based on if you're willing to sacrifice your hard-earned money, aka buying a ticket, aka buying a shirt, and aka tuning in specifically to watch that person. So I don't know what the quarter-hour breakdowns are. I don't know how McIntyre's been doing as far as those things go. It definitely felt like he was getting support before everything got shut down.
Yeah.
And
because everybody was doing the 1, 2, 3 right before you hit him with a fucking, or 3, 2, 1 with the Claymore kick. How they fucking gimmicked the shit out of that. Shocker.
Almost every wrestler has a thing that gets gimmicked. Sweet Chin Music, did he need to stomp his foot on the floor? But no, it got the crowd hyped up for it.
Cross-eyed rat.
I'm just saying, though, you got to do something like that. Jake the Snake used to do that. Why did he have to do that? He didn't, but he was signaling to the crowd, and the crowd got hyped.
And yet, the greatest finishing move of all time,
The leg drop?
no, the RKO. Bless you. Comes out of nowhere. I mean, I know that back in the bless you. I know that back in the day that he used to do the ones where he used to just like go boom, 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 and he would get all fired up. But the best part about the RKO now is it comes out of nowhere. You never know when he's going to hit the RKO on anybody. They ungimmicked that shit, and now it's the greatest move.
That is probably the rare exception. Because everything else,
I mean, I mean, Edge fucking stands in the corner and fucking goes like this when he's about to spear somebody.
But it gets the crowd into it.
And he gets the crowd into it. Steve Austin used to flip people off with the double bird before he hit him with the Stone Cold Stunner.
Hulk Hogan, Hulk up, punched a guy 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I could do
throw him against the ropes, give him the big boot, and then
run off the ropes, drop a leg drop, 1, 2, 3. Hulk Hogan wins.
Sometimes there was a body slam involved in that too, depending on who he was going against. If it was going against one of the bigger guys, he would always add the body slam just to show off how strong he was.
You'd always get that,
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, look at the Dudleys. I mean, every time, I mean, it wasn't even when they did the 3D. I mean, they used to have like they would just kind of like stalk the guy and then hit him with the finisher, but their gimmick was when they used to do the tables. It would be 1, 2, 3. Get the table, because he would push fucking.
You're kind of arguing against yourself of why you hate what Drew
McIntyre does. Stop me if I've ever done that before. but fans,
I was just trying to point out that
fans gimmick stuff like that. If it wasn't for the fans doing that shit, they wouldn't do the shit that they do. If it was, I'm telling you, and this is going to help in your whole argument with the whole like what the fans do. And I've been saying this, that wrestling fans are some of the most dedicated, and they are some of the most intense, and they are some of the most passionate fans. I would say only soccer, like world soccer fans, are the only fans I say are actually more
intense
than wrestling.
They beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. I'm not saying that we haven't had like a Roman Reigns fan get his ass kicked by a Brock Lesnar fan, but I'm just saying anything's possible. But I mean, it's just stuff gets gimmicked, and the fans are the reason behind the freaking gimmicks. I mean, how long did Drew McIntyre was doing the Claymore kick back when he was in 3MB? Nobody gave a shit before. Nobody gave a shit when he was in TNA. Nobody gave a shit about it when he was in NXT. And when he was first in WWE with the Claymore kick, nobody cared. But once he makes that face turn, now everybody's going to gimmick it and do a fucking countdown before he hits you with a Claymore kick. It's unnecessary.
Don't be mad, bro.
It's unnecessary.
Theatrics?
You think it's unnecessary? You think this is unnecessary? Wait till we talk about SmackDown. Oh boy, I can't wait because the freaking alcoholic Jeff Hardy's going to be talking about it.
Talk about it.
So let's talk about SmackDown. So this week on SmackDown, I believe it was Sheamus that was in a match, and Jeff Hardy attacked him.
Jeff Hardy came out to explain last week's incident.
That's what it was.
And he called out Sheamus, more or less saying that he was in his car, and then next thing he woke up and smelled like alcohol, and somebody told him that somebody with a red hair and a red beard was the one that knocked him unconscious. They didn't explain really anything about like how the car accident happened. Mm-hmm. So Sheamus comes out and says, Jeff Hardy blames other people for his problems. He's just a junkie. And
I know a lot of people are not happy about the storyline.
I don't like how the storyline
and all that stuff, and his demons with drugs and alcohol and everything like that. I'm going to tell you something right now. Anything that Sheamus touches turns to gold.
For you.
The fact that, yes, of course, for me. I'm a wrestling fan. At the end of the day, I'm a wrestling fan. If I was a wrestling fan, you and I wouldn't be talking about professional wrestling right now.
If you weren't a wrestling fan, you wouldn't be a wrestling fan.
You're right. And we wouldn't be talking about this. But at the end of the day, I'm a wrestling fan. And I am thoroughly entertained with whatever Sheamus does. Sheamus could fight 27 midgets, and I think it would be entertaining. While drinking a pint of Guinness.
Right.
But
that would be a lot of fun. So this storyline is going to continue. Heck, it feels like this one could culminate at SummerSlam, even though they have a couple of pay-per-views, I think.
They just got announced that they're going to have their match at Backlash next week.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that seem like they're kind of fluid. So I also don't think the match at Backlash will be the last of the matches that these two have.
I agree.
So that was Jeff Harvey and Sheamus.
Sheamus, still one of the greatest moments in Raw history.
Yes. And Mike Adamle calling him Jeff Harvey is still one of the greatest moments, too.
I just pulled an Adamle.
Yeah.
I gotta find that soundbite somehow.
So, continuation of that. All right, then we had the Dozer going against Baron Corbin. Before the match, Otis and Mandy actually were playing around with the crown. And King Corbin, not too happy about that. But these two guys put on a pretty darn entertaining match. And blah, 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 blah.
I might be in the minority on this, but I fucking love Baron Corbin now. He serves a purpose. He's not as atrocious on the microphone like he used to be. He's not a bad performer inside the ring. And the fact is he's a heel and he gets legitimate heel heat. He serves a purpose. Yeah.
See, like, I don't remember which year it was going into during the Marquee Awards, but I thought that Baron Corbin was going to be the breakout star of the year. He ended up sucking terribly in that year. And I'm like going, all right, maybe I'll just give up hope. And then all of a sudden it was kind of end of 2017 or
2018,
where you started seeing that he was starting to figure things out.
I'm pretty sure the year you named Baron Corbin your breakout star of the year was the same year I picked Cedric Alexander, who ended up like tearing his ACL and was out for the year. And I'm like, that's the most brainless thing I could have done.
But Baron Corbin, who has gotten much better at every aspect of being a pro wrestler. Like at first, it seemed like he was almost going to be like the Ultimate Warrior, where he was in to get his money and then did not have a lot of love for the business. I honestly think that he's kind of loves wrestling now. He enjoys being that asshole in front of the crowd.
I heard that a lot of people had he had a very bad reputation backstage because a lot of people thought that he was just going to be a former football player who was going to transition into a professional wrestler, and that he already had that stigma about him and just the way he carried himself. And they said that deep down inside, Baron Corbin is a wrestling fan who became a professional wrestler after his football career just didn't pan out. And the rest is history. And now I think that now that he's got that stigma against, away from him, now people are starting to take him a little bit more seriously.
Right. So, Corbin ended up losing this match via DQ because he hit Otis with a steel chair.
Yep.
But a good way for neither of them to look poor.
Right.
So we had Lacey Evans going against Sonya Deville. A continuation of this storyline has been going on for a little while now. Sonya keeps on coming out kind of on the lower end of the stick here. Sonya ended up getting distracted by Mandy Rose being up on the big screen, and Lacey delivered the women's right and pinned Sonya. Again, a thing that they're trying to do to make it so she doesn't, Sonya does not look as weak. But usually something like that is saved for being a heel. I don't know if they're trying to blur the lines here or shades of gray. I think overall Sonya looked like pretty good in this match. So did Lacey. I think both of them have been really putting in some good work here. It's too bad that, it's like the 50-50 booking thing. Nobody's looking super strong, but nobody's looking bad either. I think there are other women on the roster that they could probably push down a little bit more and use them to build up some of the folks that they have some confidence in.
I agree. But I think that Sonya Deville is definitely somebody I've been a fan of for the last couple of years. And I think the more and more I get to watch her and see her develop, the more I become of Sonya Deville. I think that as long as she keeps doing what she's doing, she has a very, very bright future in WWE. And the same thing goes for Lacey Evans. I really am surprised that they have yet to pull the trigger on the Lacey Evans actually winning the championship. I thought they were going to do it before WrestleMania. I thought it was going to happen at WrestleMania. Now I have no idea when the fuck they're going to do it because I don't even think they know what the hell they're going to do with Bailey Manning because she's a fucking derp.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they feel the need to keep pushing her and pushing her and pushing her. And it's like, I'm just tired and disgusted with Bailey at this point. So fuck that bitch.
Right. I'm attempting to try to figure out how I could get this to stream here.
Okay.
So keep rolling, man.
What else did we have on SmackDown?
We had AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan cutting a promo against each other.
So they were basically setting up a promo. They were doing the promo for next week's Intercontinental Championship match, which, by the way, they've already recorded. And a lot of people said, you're going, just fasten your seatbelts. This match is going to be bonkers. And I'm really excited for the match because Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles are two of the better performers, if not the two best performers in WWE right now. Daniel Bryan cut a promo and, voiced his, what he had the voice, and AJ Styles did the same thing, which ultimately led to AJ Styles having a match against Drew Gulak because Drew Gulak is kind of like Daniel Bryan's like life coach in this whole situation. And, pretty solid match. And Drew Gulak went over on AJ Styles, scoring a pinfall from a roll-up, and the rest is that. So
the interesting thing here, I think, is that Gulak ended up losing to Daniel Bryan in the opening round, and now later on, after he's out of this whole thing, we have him beating AJ Styles. I love the fact that he got the win, but this whole Intercontinental title tournament is like, the booking is just weird. So,
I mean, that whole tournament has just been an absolute abomination. And I mean, obviously, I have my opinions because I thought Sheamus was going to go very deep. And
you're very sad.
And the fact that he lost twice in the tournament is fucking ridiculous. But nevertheless, I don't even know anymore. I'm just excited for the championship match. Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles is going to be an absolute barn burner. It's going to be a fantastic match. And the two of them are just going to light the world on fire next Friday, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. Daniel Bryan, as part of his promo, did say that if he wins the title, he is going to defend it every week. And talked about how AJ Styles was a coward for taking the easy way out and not having the extra match. Daniel Bryan's like, I earned it. That's why he did his extra match. And as much as I kind of understand how that goes, it still comes off as stupid on Daniel Bryan's part and just bad booking. But hey, it is what it is.
Yep.
All right. So then we ended up having the New Day and Chad Gable go against Nakamura, Cesaro, and Mojo Rawley. New Day and Gable go over on this. This match was kind of like a nothing match. That it felt like nothing wrong with the match, but it felt like filler in general. There was no real storyline outside of I think this is going to try to start a Gable versus Mojo Rawley feud,
or it's going to lead to the New Day defending the tag team titles at a pay-per-view in the future against Nakamura and Cesaro.
Either way, it felt like a nothing match.
Basically, it was good to see Chad Gable get TV time, though.
They've mismanaged him so much. I don't have any faith. I have as much faith in WWE booking him correctly as I believe they will properly book tag teams. So, speaking of tag teams, and we already talked about this before, but Bayley and Sasha Banks are the new women's tag team champions.
I think I'll wet my pants. That's how excited I am.
Yeah. And that was that. So we're going to move on to NXT now. NXT, before they had the deal with the USA Network to air it Wednesdays on USA, whenever you had the go home show, the week of a pay-per-view, you always kind of knew, because they taped these shows ahead of time, that you weren't going to get something that was like building a lot for the show for the weekend. I figured that once they were going live every week, they were going to start building in that manner, and they haven't. Almost nothing on this week's show had anything to do with what's going to happen tomorrow night on the pay-per-view. There were little bits, but in general, this show had nothing to do with it.
They had the triple threat match to determine the new number one contenders for Imperium for the NXT Tag Team Championships. It was the Undisputed Era, which it was Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish instead of Kyle O'Reilly. I'm guessing that Kyle O'Reilly must be hurt or something. The second team that was in there
Birch and Lorcan
was your boy, Oney Lorcan and Danny Birch, Team 1-2. And the returning Breezango. I just wanted to bring this up really quick. Nicole and I were watching wrestling, and we were talking about like I showed her Fandango for the first time. I believe it was his match against Jericho at WrestleMania 29.
Your favorite.
She was like, "Get a load of this guy," and she made some interesting remarks about Fandango, and I told her that he was now in the tag team with Tyler Breeze, and they're called Breezango and everything, and that was just kind of the whole thing. And I remember they came out the way they did on Wednesday, and I said, "Hey, look, honey, it's your favorite tag team, Breezango," and her reaction was just epic because of how stupid the entrance was that they did on Wednesday and all the theatrics and everything. And of course, they went over, so obviously they're in there just to basically kind of just continue on with Imperium's reign as tag team champions. They're basically just getting fed to the wolves.
Hey,
Sometimes
at this point, I don't think I don't have a lot of faith that Breezango is going to be a major thing again. I hope I'm wrong. I think they're both talented, but I think right now they're going to be, as you said, they're there to extend the title reign of Imperium, but they're going to make Imperium look good.
Oh, of course.
So, and that'll be their job.
Yep.
So,
which is a shame because Tyler Breeze deserves better. But nevertheless.
So they had that for number one contenders match. And it's not officially a part of the card, but I don't have... It's possible it could be part of the card for In Your House tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's just not officially added.
Yeah.
All right. Then one of my least favorite performers, Mia Yim, was going against Candice LeRae.
That was just a whole bunch of, I don't even know what's the best word to describe witnessing what I witnessed in that whole segment between Mia Yim and Candice LeRae, and then, Johnny Gargano and Keith Lee both kind of got involved. It just seemed like it was, I can't even think of what's the best word to describe it.
Chicanery, a shit show.
Chaos. It was just clunky. It just seemed like it was just, it just didn't make any sense. A lot of it just the fact that they had a bunch of other women just start fighting against each other while this match is going on, and I'm just it was absurd. Here's the word. It was absurd.
So basically, before this LeRae Yim match, LeRae ended up attacking Mia Yim beforehand. But in the end, as you were talking, a whole bunch of women wrestlers came out, started beating up each other. This match ended up in double countout. Then William Regal comes out, and then this was after Gargano and Keith Lee added themselves into the mix. But then they turned it into a mixed tag team match, playa, which Johnny Gargano was like, "Hey, I don't want any part of this," and but they go forward with the match, and and we had Candice LeRae pinning Mia Yim.
After Johnny Gargano attacked Keith Lee with his keys, which I thought was interesting. Which was something they did on AEW in the last few months. I think it was John Moxley when he was feuding with Jericho.
Yes.
One of the guys in Pride and Powerful, I don't remember if it was Ortiz or Santana, but I know one of them attacked and stabbed him in the eye, and he had the eye patch, and now his eye's fine. Yeah.
Right.
So
it's fine.
But
yeah. All right, so we had Isaiah Swerve Scott going against Tony Nese, both guys who were in the interim cruiserweight championship tournament. I thought Swerve Scott was going to end up being in the finals. I think the stuff that happened with Maverick was part of the reason why he did not end up in the finals.
I thought it was going to be Kushida.
And Tony Nese, who is the guy who makes everybody look good, and he looks spectacular as far as like his physique and what he does in the ring. They had a heck of a match going, and at one point Jack Gallagher got involved, and Swerve Scott ended up going over. Good match, but Gallagher seemed like tacked on. It seemed unnecessary to have him in this. Mm-hmm. To me, it made Nese just look worse. He could have been made to look a little bit stronger. Like, literally, Gallagher helped him, and he still lost. So, all right. Then we had Aaliyah going against Santana Garrett. So one of the things lately that they've had is Robert Stone as a manager looking to add clients, and Aaliyah has been trying to get in the good graces of Robert Stone. I forgot who. Why can't I remember?
Chelsea Green.
Yes, he had Chelsea Green as his client. Chelsea Green has dropped him. Now he's taking interest in Aaliyah again.
What was it again? Robert Stone, right?
Robert Stone.
Robert Stone, who once upon a time was known as Robbie E in Impact Wrestling. And my favorite part is now he's like part of the crowd at NXT tapings. Which, by the way, I found out that none of the NXT people who are working in the crowd are getting paid to do that.
Yeah, that's some bullshit there.
Same thing with like the Raw and SmackDowns too.
Yeah.
But that's how the rich stay rich there, Jay. You know that.
Right. So Santana Garrett actually went over, but I think this will probably lead to a storyline of Aaliyah needs somebody to get her to that next level. So I think Robert Stone will be part of that.
Yeah, too bad Aaliyah is going to be a career NXT. She's basically just like a career minor leaguer, like for baseball. That's what I'm getting at.
Crash Davis?
Yeah.
All right. Then we had Cameron Grimes going against Bronson Reed. And Bronson Reed goes over in this match. And, with Grimes, they've been all over the place with him. It's like they don't know what to do with him. And the character is just, I don't know. I think he might be one of those guys that they might need to take off TV for a little while and have him work on a
character,
a new character, or at least refine this one a lot to get people to buy into it.
And I want to say it was one of the wrestling writers that came out this week and said that the reason that they're doing this with Cameron Grimes is they just don't know what to do with him right now. And it seems like it's a pretty sad thing because the guy, Trevor Lee, is a hell of a worker, and he's made a name for himself, and he's still rather young. He's like 25 or 26 years old. And the fact is that he's not even on the card for this weekend is just it shows.
There's a lot of people not on the card this weekend, but he could be in a better spot. But at the end of this, I guess one of the things that is slightly in line with some storytelling for this weekend, Karrion Kross took out Reed with the Doomsday Saito. Kross is going against Tommaso Ciampa this weekend. And this literally is like the only link that they had for TakeOver. They have promos for it.
Other than the promo from Adam Cole, baby.
But for the most part, this was about all they did for trying to link NXT this week with a pay-per-view that they have this weekend.
Right.
It's like, it's supposed to be your go-home show. You're supposed to be promoting this stuff a bit more impressively, and it's like almost like they didn't care, or if it's two different shows. Mm-hmm. So disjointed storytelling because of it. I was more accepting of it before because they had to tape several weeks out, and they had to make sure that whatever talent was healthy going into the show. But they don't have that. They can't use that as an excuse anymore.
Right.
And I'm not going to give it to them anymore. So
You should.
all right. And then for the main event of the night, we had Phantasma going against Drake Maverick for the interim cruiserweight title. We already spoke of who won earlier and what happened at the end of the match.
So we don't really need to bring it up again.
One thing I wanted to bring up that I completely forgot about while we were talking about kind of news and notes, it came out this past week that one of the angles that they wanted to do for WrestleMania 36 is they wanted to have the Nexus return and I think do similar to what they did when they debuted originally and just destroy everybody and everything.
So my only question was,
it would have made sense if it was John Cena that they did that too.
Like, if that was the case, does that mean that Wade Barrett would have came back, even though he works for NWA now?
He's only an announcer there, so.
Would that have meant that Ryback would be returning, and would he have come back as Skip Sheffield, or would he have been the Ryback in that? Does that mean Heath Slater wouldn't have lost his job? Does this mean that Justin Gabriel, who has a contract with somebody else, would have came back? Does this mean that Michael Tarver, who served no purpose at all, would have been back?
Or would they have taken from all versions of the Nexus to make one? Would Bray Wyatt have been the leader of the Nexus?
Would Curtis Axel have been part of that?
Who knows?
Would we have gotten Mason Ryan back?
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy!
But I thought that would have been interesting.
I would have loved to have seen it. I would have marked out in Tampa if I'd seen that, if I was there.
But that was like a big storyline that they were hoping to do that did not come to fruition because of coronavirus.
Right.
So, all right. So let's get into NXT TakeOver In Your House. It is coming to you from the Performance Center this weekend. And we have right now officially 6 matches on the card. I don't put it out of the frame of thought that we could get a tag team title match. But all right, so we have Tommaso Ciampa going against Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's making his takeover debut. Ciampa could definitely put him over, and this is a situation where they're definitely going to build Karrion Kross because he has been, as they touted, as one of the top free agents that was out in the market that they signed. But he's not fucking losing.
Right.
The fact that Scarlett already has a T-shirt on the website, when a lot of wrestlers could go months or years without getting a T-shirt.
Drake Maverick.
Like Drake Maverick and everything like that. And the fact that Scarlett already has a T-shirt is just
right.
It speaks volumes. So I'm going with Karrion Kross.
All right. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest.
Damian Priest.
I'm going to go with Balor here. Like, as much as I could see Priest winning, like, I don't know. Balor, like, I was expecting more from his NXT run, and I don't know if it's just the...
Then he got hurt for a bit.
He was hurt for a bit, and again, not having an audience is not helpful. So, all right. I just feel like Balor needs a strong win. I mean, Priest probably could use a strong win, too. I always look at, like, what do they perceive as, like, the peak for these people. I think Balor still, despite his age, has a bigger peak possibility than Priest. But
Damian Priest definitely looks more of like what Vince McMahon looks for in a wrestler than Finn Balor does.
Well, we shall see.
Yep, we shall see.
All right, so the other thing, I guess, that kind of linked to TakeOver this weekend, that melee that we got on Wednesday on NXT, with Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Knox, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. These 6 ladies are going to be in a six-woman match.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like one of these hastily thrown together things, which is why that segment didn't really make sense on NXT. But they're like, oh, well, we needed another match for the pay-per-view. They could have just added this tag team match. But, oh well, maybe they already pre-taped the tag team match for this week's NXT. I don't know. I am not sure with that. But I feel they really want to put their faith in Candice LeRae. I think they feel good now about where she is as a heel. And I feel the heels are going to win here. Dakota Kai, Candice LeRae, Raquel Gonzalez.
I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to say the faces win. I think it's going to be Shotzi Blackheart, Mia Yim, and Tegan Nox.
All right. Booyah.
Motherfuck not.
All right. So for the North American title, we've got Keith Lee going against Johnny Wrestling.
Keith Lee.
I agree. I think there are a lot of matches. Every time there's a takeover, every match has a possibility of stealing the show. This one is the one that I feel strongest will steal the show. I'm going to say for I don't know, my top three for this card are Keith Lee, Gargano, Balor, Damian Priest, Ciampa, Karrion Kross. Not
Same.
To like discount the triple threat women's match or the world title match.
But yeah, those matches.
I feel like those ones are going to 100% bring it in every way. I agree with you, though. Keith Lee is going to retain. He was so hot before the fans left.
Yeah.
He had that great moment at the Royal Rumble with Brock Lesnar, and standing toe-to-toe with him. He's had so many great moments before he was North American title holder and since then. So I'd say keep the train rolling. Gargano does not need the win as much as Lee does, and he's been a really good champion. So I'd say Keith Lee, 100% agree. Women's triple threat for the NXT women's title. Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Shirai.
Charlotte. And not only does Charlotte win, Io Shirai is on the main roster. Probably, my guess is Io Shirai will be on Raw on Monday.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that not only does Charlotte win tomorrow, but Io Shirai will be on the main roster on Wrestling on Raw on Monday.
All right.
Even though that's not really part of the prediction, but I'm predicting it anyway.
Okay. It certainly feels like Io Shirai is here to eat the pin or eat the submission. I don't like the idea of a hot potato champion, but I think I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley here, but she's going to pin Io Shirai, setting up for her and Charlotte down the line again.
Yep.
I definitely feel you with Charlotte winning. It's probably more likely than my pick, but my gut is telling me Rhea Ripley wins this match, and we're going to, she wears tights, so we're not going to be able to see that gigantic new tattoo that she has. That, whoever the artist is very impressive, but it's not it's not my cup of tea. I don't mind tattoos, but not that many and not that big.
I still think that Pete Dunne has the dumbest fucking tattoo in all of wrestling. Who gets a fucking lion tattooed on their knee? I'm sorry, knee tattoos are stupid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nicole.
All right. So, and I would say this is my thought. If Io Shirai debuts on the main roster, I would put her on SmackDown because I know how Vince McMahon thinks. Vince McMahon says, I've already got 2 Japanese wrestlers on Monday Night Raw. I want to spread the wealth of having Japanese viewers from all over the world now also watching SmackDown to see one of their fellow countrywomen wrestling professionally on the main roster. That would be my guess.
But I could also see him putting her on Raw so that she and Asuka can finally have a kind of a culmination match between the two of them, as they are the 2 best women Japanese wrestlers of all time.
But Io Shirai does not have. She is not known to the main WWE audience.
True.
I think they would need to build that up for a while. Yeah. Well, they should build it up properly and should build it up for a while.
But she'll debut on Monday and end up getting a match at whatever July pay-per-view is.
Yes.
After fat bitch Nia Jax fucking loses her title match.
Right. catches coronavirus. All right, and the main event is the Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole, baby! I like how they were able to continue this storyline despite the fact that the Dream lost. In general, I would say you need to go to the back of the line, but they kept the storyline going in a way where I'm like going, okay, I'll take, I guess, that you are not at the back of the line. But as good of a match as I think they're going to have, and as much as I enjoy the Dream, the Dream was white hot like a year and a half, 2 years ago. That would have been when I would have thought that they should have put the title on him.
Yep.
They didn't. I think he's cooled off quite a bit, and I don't think now is the time to put the title on him. I see Adam Cole, baby, retaining the title and continuing his record title reign.
I think that I'm going to go with the Dream because
Okay.
I think Adam Cole is also going to get called up to the main roster.
Do you believe the Undisputed Era is getting?
Oh, they're bringing everybody up to the main roster just so they could fucking ruin the Undisputed Era, in the tag team division. Because fuck it.
Because there was the story out this week where Mark Henry was kind of calling bullcrap on them, saying Adam Cole was too small for the main roster.
He said that he was like the new version of Shawn Michaels, which is, say what you will about Shawn Michaels, that's a hell of a fucking compliment.
Right. So
anyway,
so those are our predictions, and that was most of our show. But we still have our good, our bad, and our brainless.
You have to point at me when you say that.
You're the brainless one.
Yeah, but still. I think, first of all, we're both going to agree on the good. I really do.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Jay, what is your good for this week?
I'm going with my good this week is Drake Maverick getting his contract.
Same.
Prefer that we have different goods, but this one was too good to not.
I will go as far as to say that not only does Drake Maverick get my good for this week, but Drake Maverick down the road is going to be a nominee for a Marquee Award for Mark Out Moment of the Year, which is up against Edge, obviously returning to the Royal Rumble.
That's going to be tough to.
But it's still a nomination is still a nomination.
It is.
And any other year that would be a good. It would be a Mark Out Moment of the Year. But still, it's just tremendous, and it's one of my favorite moments of the year thus far for wrestling.
Yeah. All right.
What's your bad for this week?
I'm going with Nia Jax. There were parts of me that wanted to put Nia in the brainless. She was originally my brainless. I swapped it up, thinking about it just a little bit more. Nia needs to be let go from her WWE contract. She's unsafe. It wasn't the buckle bomb that hurt the performers. It was the performer who performed the buckle bomb that hurt the performers. And she has not just hurt people doing the buckle bomb. She's hurt people in multiple ways. She's unsafe in every way. So she needs to be gone. But she is just the bad for this week.
My bad for this week goes to Bayley and Sasha Banks winning the Women's Tag Team Championships. And it's not because of the fact that they won the tag team titles, because they are the reason behind the Women's Tag Team Championships. But the fact is that it really looked like they were building up towards the Iconics versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And that was a much better storyline heading into this. So instead what you do is you put Bayley and Sasha in there and take the titles away from Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I have no idea why the fuck they did it. I really don't.
I think they're putting their eggs more in the Banks-Bayley basket.
Which is...
There's nothing wrong with doing that, but they didn't have to take the tag titles off of the champions to do that.
But nevertheless, that's why it's my bad. And any other week, it would be my brainless. But like I said, I had like a lot of brainless to choose from.
Right. My brainless for this week, I'm going with Jaxson Ryker's comments. As much as most of what he said is true, the fact that he left out that, like, I realize that people are still suffering and the equality is not what it needs to be. Leaving that out, like, it is terrible. Almost everything else he said was, I thought, spot on, but leaving out, like, no, people are still being oppressed. Shit is still happening that is not right. Mr. Floyd did not need to die. And I know that there are some white folks that die on the hands of police, but we have not seen them have a knee on their neck for 8 minutes.
Somebody brought up a really good point about the whole thing with George Floyd, and it's not that police brutality against African Americans is getting worse. It's just we now have the technology that records stuff like this, so we could see what the hell is going on. And like I said, it is a horrible, horrible tragedy that happened in Minnesota. George Floyd should not have lost his life. It doesn't matter what he had, for his, in his history and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. The man lost his life that he shouldn't have lost his life. And the 4 cops that were part of that, including the one who actually had his knee on him, on his chest and his neck, are all got arrested and are all going to be, and all been charged for everything. So I'm very happy that that's going to be happening. But nevertheless, I would say, honestly, Ryker would get my brain list for this week, but I'm going to give it to WWE. WWE gets my brain list for this week. When you have one of your wrestlers, one of your superstars, going out there and texting Brian Alvarez, who is one of the big names, it's either him or Sean Ross Sapp or Brian Gerwick, or even I'll even say freaking Dave Meltzer, even though I hate Dave Meltzer. But these are the big names when it comes to writers for professional wrestling. When you have one of your superstars come out and basically text Brian Alvarez and says that Nia Jax needs to get fired because she is a careless performer in the ring, you need to actually do something about it. You don't give her a fucking title match. You fucking fire her, because if not, you're in the long run, this is going to come back and bite you in the ass. I really do hope, because right now in 2020, Vince McMahon is taking so many fucking L's. That would be the ultimate L that he would take, is if Nia Jax severely hurts somebody, kind of like that whole, either what with Owen Hart and Stone Cold, or what happened with D'Lo Brown and Draws, something to that extent, where she's going to severely injure somebody, or she's going to kill somebody on live television. And then what the fuck are you going to do, Vince? You're going to have millions and millions and millions of people who are going to watch it, and it's going to end up on YouTube, and it's going to be a really, really bad day, and it's going to be like the theme song for Friends. He's not having when it hasn't been his day, his week, or his month, or even his year. Right now, 2020 is that for Vince McMahon.
So right now, though, in general, for Nia Jax, it's just the super fans like us that know how dangerous she is and how much she's hurt people. If the things that you're talking about happen, if the mass media gets a hold of somebody got badly injured in the ring, people have been complaining about her for years and nothing was done about it, that would severely tarnish.
All it's going to take is for her to paralyze somebody in the ring, or break somebody's hip or something, or whatever it is, a really bad injury. And all it's going to take is for it to be a headline on ESPN, because now for the last year or two, ESPN has been promoting WWE on their website and on their sports centers and all this stuff. And now WWE is getting a little bit more mass visualization out there, and they're being put out there and everybody knows about it. All it's going to take is for either TMZ or ESPN to report on something like that, and all hell is going to break loose, and then Vince is fucked. So that's why WWE will get not just Vince, WWE as a whole, because everybody else is just afraid to say something to Vince yo, this chick's got to go. And she is, and I know I say those things about Charlotte, Charlotte's only getting these matches and these opportunities because she's Ric Flair's daughter. No, it doesn't hurt the fact that she is Ric Flair's daughter, but it also helps the fact that she is actually a really good in-ring performer. I would say she's one of the top 3 women performers in the fucking world. It's her, Tessa Blanchard, and I would say probably Asuka are the top 3. Triple H even came out and said it was Io Shirai. As much as he paid a lot, and he gave a lot of high praises to Charlotte, but he said it was Io Shirai. And a lot of people say it's Tessa Blanchard. I would say Charlotte's in that conversation. There's not
Rhea Ripley's up there, I think, for me.
I would say, and it helps. But the fact that Nia Jax is The Rock's cousin, and she's got all these family members that have been in and out of the wrestling business, it's helped her keep her job, and eventually it's going to come back and bite them all in the ass. And then what are you going to say, Rock? When your cousin fucking kills somebody in the ring? That's what I want. I want you to come out and be like, and I want you to say something about that. Everybody comes out there and fucking has their opinions about everything, but when you got a performer who has been for years, we're talking years, has been wrestling recklessly in the ring, and you're not going to say anything about it, we're just going to sweep it under the rug. That's why WWE gets my playlist this week.
Okay.
And I wanted to give it, and believe me, I wanted to give it to Jaxson Ryker.
Yeah, and I'll go back to just briefly again. Most of his statement was fine, but he did not add in the fact that, there are people still not equal. Everybody needs to be treated fairly, but he made it sound like you've come so far, you've made it to the finish line already. It's like, oh no, the finish line's still ahead, man. We still have work to do. He made it sound like the work's finished.
It's kind of like the whole thing with Drew Brees, where Drew Brees came out earlier this week, and he made a post about, I will not take a knee, and everybody who takes a knee and everything like that is just bad and everything, and he supports the troops and all this stuff. And a lot of players in the NFL and even some of his teammates, including Michael Thomas, who's the best receiver in the National Football League, were very upset about what he did. Drew Brees came out and apologized for what he said. Michael Thomas is like, as a Christian, I can accept that and just move on from there. And I guess he's had more conversations with his teammates and a lot of other people in the league, and they actually, educated him on what is really happening and what is really going on. And Drew Brees came out and said that, and he basically went after Donald Trump and said, hey, what is happening is happening. It's not about, the military and everything. It is about a stance, because this has been going on for years, and you guys have been just, throwing a blind eye to this and everything, and now it needs to be brought to the forefront that this has been going on for years and something needs to change. And he did all the right things to get back to where he needed to do. Jaxson Ryker had an opportunity to do that this week, and he didn't do it. He actually just kind of made a picture of him being like a god or whatever the hell it was that he was trying to do with his post. And I get it. Jaxson Ryker is a former Marine, and he probably has, with the military tie and everything like that. But you had an opportunity to redeem yourself, and you didn't. So,
yeah. Anyway, tough to go from that note to how we do our show and how we end it. We like to have fun, but when serious stuff goes on in the world, I feel like we have to have at least a little bit of social consciousness on this. And being a church-going guy, I think sharing the love of God is not a bad way to take care of this. And I would also ask the folks out there watching, don't confuse the love of Christ with a Christian, because there are a lot of imperfect Christians who do imperfect things, and you're like going, well, if they're worshiping God, I don't want to follow God. It's like going, no, following God and following the ideas of Christ, which was of love and acceptance, which I think everybody could go along with, love and acceptance. If you're against that, you have some issues. Just love people and accept them, and it doesn't mean you have to agree with them. Just accept them and love them.
Yep.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Yes.
So, I think that's about it.
There's one thing left.
Wait, are you telling me there's one more thing?
Because I know that, it was kind of like somber to go from this to this, but you know what? It has to be done. Because the only person in the history of this podcast for almost 4 years, we're having our 4-year anniversary coming up next month, which is incredible. And you've missed episodes, I've missed episodes, but one person has not missed an episode. That's because today, on June 6th of 2020, at an astonishing 1,766 days, FMR's Hall of Famer Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It was just yeah. Wrestling sucked this week, so I kind of.
So hey, we all have our off weeks.
Next week I'll be in the words of Mike Greenberg and Mike Gold back in the day on Mike and Mike. Next week I'll be back and better than ever.
Yeah.
Anyway, for episode 100. Oh, and if you like what you see, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Periscope, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, letter F, the letter N, M-A-R-K-S, the F in March. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us on all those outlets. We will do the same back. It's always been our whole thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, for episode 178 of the F in March podcast,
I'm Jay.
And I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.